And can I have my slide up on the screen? Thank you. So at first, I like to share verses from Shoshinge written by our founder, Shinran Shonin. So please join me in Gassho. Please put your palms together. 弥陀仏の本願を憶念すれば、自念に即の時に必定にいるなり。ただ、よく常に如来の号を称すれば、大悲具勢の恩に報ずると応ずるなりと。The moment of one think on Amida's primal vow, one is naturally brought to enter the stage of the definitely settled. Solely saying the Tathagata's name constantly, one should respond with gratitude to the universal vow of great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda. Good morning, everyone. You know, this morning when I woke up, I had a feeling, oh, today's attendance is gonna be low. Right, it was raining outside and a little bit chilly, and I knew like bus trip is going to San Jose today, so we missed some regular people, and I heard there's a basketball tournament or something, so we missed some people too, and my family is usually here, but my kids running around the land park. For the Running for Red, that is one of the running program. And then my son really likes to run around. So, he was practicing it for how many weeks? Few weeks. He had to go to school 7:30 a.m. So I have to take him to, school by 7:30. So today, a little bit sleepy, but, it's okay. Then the other day, I have asked you a question like this. What is the meaning of your life? What is the meaning of your life? And then I was reading a book by the late Reverend Jitsuen Kakehashi the other day, and I came across the response to this question by Reverend Kakehashi. So Kakehashi Sensei said something like this. We are told by Amida Buddha, don't think that you are going to die, but think that you are going to be born. Amida Buddha overturns our framework of life and death. Amida Buddha tells us to regard death as the opening of the gateway to the Pure Land, the beginning of infinite life. If we then ask, then what meaning does this fleeting life have? We are told, it serves only as the place where you verify the truth of the Buddha's teaching. At this point, the meaning of living is completely transformed. To live means to make our life the field where we conform and testify to the truth of the Buddha's teaching. It is only within this understanding that my life takes on true meaning. So I thought this is brilliant response by the scholar of our tradition. Kakehashi Sensei was one of probably best scholar of our tradition. So I thought, I wanted to share the response of him with you. And throughout life, we are reminded that life is impermanent, life is interdependent, right? These two truths we often hear at the temple, right? But also, don't think we are going to die, but going to be born. So being mindful of the teaching of the Buddha always. This is the meaning of life. And this response of Kakehashi Sensei relates to the question I would like to respond today. And are there any practices in Jodo Shinshu? And I'm sure that today's talk will be a little bit overwhelming or a little bit complicated. So if you decided to practice a sleeping meditation, then that's okay. This is the word I learned from Kuwahara Sensei in Berkeley. He said, if you like to practice sleeping meditation, that's fine. So but don't snore, Okay, don't snore. So if we are understanding a practice as some kind of conduct, then I could say that one of the practices of Jodo Shinshu could be mindfulness. Mindfulness. You know, mindfulness became so popular, right? Like maybe within 10 years or so. This is the way to reduce stress by not thinking about anything, but focusing on what we are doing right now without adding the judgments to it. Like, you know, I moved mouth, I raised my right hand, you know, like that. Not thinking anything else, but thinking about what I'm doing right now. And then stress comes from trying to think about the past and future, which we have no control over. So just focus on the moment. This is what the mindful meditation is talking about. But original word translated as mindfulness is sati, and it means, I didn't have it, sorry. Maybe I have it, let me see. Nope, okay. So sati, and it means to memorize, to remember or to recollect. And when I say that mindfulness is the practice of Jodo Shinshu, I mean it is to remember or to recollect. So going back to these verses of Shoshinge I shared at the beginning, the kanji, which is highlighted with red, okunen, is translated as one think on. And oku means to remember or memorize, and nen means being mindful. This is actually the kanji for nenbutsu. You know, we use this character, nenbutsu. So nenbutsu, we often use as the recitation of the name of the Buddha, but it could also mean being mindful of the Buddha. That is nenbutsu. So in addition, in one of his writings, Shinran Shogin explains the term okunen, and he said, holding mindfulness means that people of true shinjin constantly recall the primal vow without interruption. Then some people might be stuck with the word shinjin. What is shinjin, right? And it is often translated as entrusting heart. And flipping the order of the passages around, then I could say that the people constantly recall the primal vow without interruption is the person of shinjin. Does it make sense? So shinjin could be mean to constantly recalling the primal vow. But Shinran Shogin said, without interruption, right? Impossible, isn't it? Without interruption, because we sleep, you know, we do something else in the daily life, right? But Shinran Shogin said that Amida Buddha's working is without interruption, but our mindfulness is occasion to occasion. So that is why I had the picture of underground water, right? We cannot see the underground water, but it's there, right? But appears on the surface through the well. So once we accept the working of Amida Buddha once we accept the primal vow, it is like underground water, constantly running without interruption. And occasion to occasion, it appears in our surface mind, and we feel that, oh, Amida Buddha established the vow for me, Nammanda, right? So then, recalling the primal vow means to remembering why the vow of Amida Buddha needed to be established and how it is working now. So this is called the origin and fulfillment of the primal vow. So to recall the vow is to recall the origin and the fulfillment of the primal vow. Did I have something? So Amida Buddha established the primal vow because there are beings who cannot extinguish afflictions, such as the three poisons of greed, anger, and ignorance. And again, Amida Buddha overturns our way of thinking. It is not that we extinguish the fire of afflictions, we be assured to become a Buddha. It's not that. But because of our afflictions, Amida Buddha grasped and never abandoned us. So our spiritual life as a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist is not to abandon the afflictions, but become aware of the working of afflictions and realize that because of these afflictions, I am in the grasp of Amida Buddha's working. So, this is what I do every day. And I'm sorry, most of you are probably native Californian, but the driving in California is so terrible, right? There are terrible drivers, who think that driving fast is cool, or changing lanes and cutting in front of people is cool or something, right? So at least once a day, when I'm driving, I encounter a terrible driver and said, "What?" Then I think this way. Oh, Amida Buddha established the vow because of me who cannot hold this irritation, right? Then I say, Nammanda, Nammanda. So I be mindful of the working of Amida Buddha in everyday life. This life becomes the field for me to confirm and testimony the truth of the teaching of the Buddha. So, when we argue with our spouse or, siblings, or when we think that why I am the only one who is doing this and that person is not doing this kind of way of thinking. Instead of focusing on the irritation, be mindful of the origin of the vow of Amida Buddha. Then we start to self-reflect the way of our thinking and appreciate the working of Amida Buddha by reciting Namo Amida Butsu. So in other words, I can say that being mindful of Amida Buddha's vow transforms the perspective of our way of thinking. And because it makes us leave the one-sided judgments, it also reduces the stress too. So, this is about driving again. I was driving a lot this week. So the other day, I was driving to Roseville for the house blessing service. House blessing service is really popular among Hawaiian people and Southeast Asian people, I think. But on the way, there were two cars ahead of me, maybe like 2 cars ahead of me like this, right? Then it was a road with only 1 lane each. One was a really slow truck, and another one was the terrible driver who wants to drive first, right? So driver was driving bumper to bumper and trying to pass the track from left, trying to see cars coming and going back, coming back, try and coming back, kind of thing. So observing this, I started to think that if we focus on the speed you want to drive, if we focus on the speed we want to drive, then we get irritated by encountering somebody who drives slow, right? And then if we focus on the time we want to arrive to the destination, we get irritated by the slow truck, right? But then if we focus on arriving the destination safely, then we don't care if we have slow track ahead of us or not, right? So if we turn or change the perspective or transform with the way of thinking, we can reduce the stress, right? And then this is really similar to being mindful of the working of Amida Buddha. When we listen or hear the origin of Amida Buddha, why the vow had to be established, and realizing that, oh, that was because of my affliction, then we start to self-reflect our behavior and then appreciate the working of Amida Buddha. So, this is really important in our spiritual life as a Joro Shinshu Buddhist in daily life. And coming to the temple, it's great, thank you for coming to the temple and, coming to listening to the teaching. But everyday life is also important. Everyday life, we be mindful of the working of Amida Buddha. Then we start to self-reflect our behavior and nurture the mind of gratitude and appreciation. So this is our practice in Joro Shinshu. Okay? So I hope today's response or explanation to the question helped. And in closing, please join me in Gassho. Please put your palms together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda.